This is the Newsload.
Hi, I'm Carrie Anne. I'm here with Newsload, and today we're interviewing all the way to Texas is JaMarr John Johnson. How are you, JaMarr?
I'm doing magnificent today. How are you?
I'm amazing. Texas, what's the weather like out there?
It is a cool 70 degrees, blue skies. I'm loving it.
I don't know what 70 is in Fahrenheit. We're Celsius up here in Canada.
That means it's not too hot, not too cold. It's just right.
Okay, but you're still sweatering. It's still sweater weather.
Well, inside my home, I like to keep the AC flowing, so it's always cardigan season while I'm indoors.
That's a great philosophy, keeping it cool.
Yeah.
So you were born in Texas?
I was born in New York City originally, born and raised. I spent 18 years there and then joined the military and spent 14 years there before going back to New York for 1.5 winters and then deciding I need to go a little bit warmer. So I went to California for 9 years and now I find myself here in Texas.
So you're 23 and holding, I guess, eh?
23 and holding. Well, the year is 2023, but I am 44. Black don't crack, so.
Yeah, you have a baby face.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself. And also I take a Benjamin Button supplement, so that keeps me young.
So you're reversing an age. That's amazing.
I'm reversing an age as I get older. Exactly.
Great. What did you do in the military?
So in the military, I did a combination of things. I first started off, I was a Marine because I had to follow my father's footsteps and break the cycle, so to speak. So, but I did that for 2 years, and then I got an ROTC scholarship. So I became a naval officer. And while being a naval officer, I served as the anti-submarine warfare officer on a frigate in Japan for 3 years. Then I did a staff job. Then I did a training job. But overall, I was a surface warfare officer.
And were you funny throughout the entire time?
I always found a way to laugh to keep from crying, if you know that philosophy. I had a pretty rough upbringing, so comedy was just a natural defense mechanism in my life. But when I was 25, I was stationed in Japan. I got sent by my ship to Newport, Rhode Island to do a 30-day course on becoming the anti-submarine warfare officer. Very fun job. And while I was in Newport, I bought tickets to go see the cast of the Dave Chappelle show perform live in Boston. And on the day of the performance, against the command's orders, I drove 3.5 hours through a blizzard to get to the show where my life changed forever. So December 2005, I saw Kyle Grooms, Marina Franklin, Bill Burr, Donna Rawlings, and headlined by Charlie Murphy, rest in peace, who I did have the opportunity to open for eventually years later. That night changed the course of my life as I realized the thing that I was doing as a defense mechanism and to protect myself, but to make friends, that mechanism was actually the super connection between business and laughter. And that was becoming a stand-up comedian and understanding the business. Emphasis on show business, but business is the word that you emphasize.
For sure, for sure. And performing is fun, but production is definitely where the money's at, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I started producing within a few months of actually starting comedy, just because I realized that I had to make my own opportunities, or I had to get in line and wait for someone to pick me. But when I approached it, I really did approach it from a business standpoint from the outset. And so that prevented me from getting caught up in worrying about being selected. I just started to take the initiative because I actually joined it because it was a business. And when you do a business and it's your own business, you can call the shots and you can direct the course of action. And in the Navy, which is very different from the Marine Corps at times, the Navy, they teach a concept called lead by negation. And so as an officer, I was always thinking about doing things the best way I thought possible until someone of a higher authority told me to change course. And when you're a ship at sea, you have to be able to take decisive action. Whereas the Marine Corps was kind of like do as you're told and only that, and nothing more, nothing less. I'm somewhat of a kind of a entrepreneur at heart. Started working when I was 12 years old. So I was always thinking outside of the box. And so with a comedy career, there's many different ways you can go. I never was looking for a job. I was always looking for a way to expand my own brand and my own opportunities.
Very cool. Very cool. So you have a club that you've opened?
Yes, I have a club that I've opened. The soft launch is actually this Saturday, but I've been, producing shows all around Austin when I'm in town. I do quite a bit of corporate work. I do about 3 to 4 corporate gigs a month, so that really pays the bills. But I also have been building a media company while I've been at it. So digital education, content creation, ads, things like creatives for companies. I've been doing that for quite some time. But honestly, I feel like putting some roots here in Austin, as I feel like the rising tide is really going to raise the tide for all ships here because of Joe Rogan's club. It's a definite travel destination, and he only has the capacity for about 475 people per night, per both rooms that he has. And there's 1 million people here and growing. So there is a huge opportunity here to provide that service. But also for me, it's a feeder into the ecosystem that I'm building, which is really to teach people not just how to be funny, but how to leverage their ability to create and take ideas and monetize those ideas with content and with the gift of communication.
Do you think that you can actually help someone to be funnier, or do you think they have to have a bit of a natural ability to start?
Well, I think that if they have a desire to be funny, absolutely, because it does take work. Depending on your natural gifts and where you start from, it's going to be work if you're starting from a place where you don't have a funny bone in your body. But I think that if everybody likes to laugh, now I've asked certain people if they like to laugh, and sometimes the answer is no, because I'm out networking and meeting people, and one of the questions I used to ask people before I invited them to a show was like, hey, do you like to laugh? And of course most people go, of course, who doesn't? But there's occasionally some people who don't. Those people are stiff. They probably got a stick up their butt, but listen, that's for them to deal with, right? So, but if someone has a desire to learn, there 1000% is a science to it as much as there is an art to it. And I think for some people, leaning more heavier on the science will help them. The same way you can learn to be a copywriter, you can learn to be a writer. Not everybody's going to have a knack for it. So some people have to work harder at it, but I think everyone can learn to be funny. And at the very least, be someone who creates the environment where other people can be funny around you. Because remember, back in the day, people used to have duos. You used to have someone who was the straight man and someone who was like the silly goose. So some people can create environments where they're just a straight person. And then people are able to get laughter off of them, but they're in it together. And so you don't always have to be the one who has the biggest punchlines to facilitate really funny environments.
Yeah, there is, a bit of a thing where there's the goofy sidekick, and then, the annoyed, straight man who almost repels against their goofiness, and that sort of polar opposite is the funny. I hate to compare Colin Mockery and Ryan Stiles in, Whose Line Is It Anyway? But Ryan Stiles, humongous man, and just straight most of the time. And then Colin Mockery is goofing, who actually surprisingly is quite a tall gentleman himself, but standing next to Ryan Stiles, 6'9". It's because when I met Colin Mockery, I was like, holy, you're kind of huge yourself. It was very impressive. But absolutely, the straight man and the goofball is definitely a comedic typical
duo. It's like a comedic duo. It's and then you see it in a lot of different arenas. I mean, look at Batman and Robin, for example, right? Batman is serious and stoic, and Robin is childlike. I mean, just look at the costume. They give him this colorful, they give him he looks like a parrot almost, right?
And it's fascinating. I really loved Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, because Will Smith is usually the goofy Independence Day, like, now that's what I call a close encounter kind of thing. Yeah. And then in Bad Boys, he pulled out, you need help, you need to get yourself checked, you're in trouble. And Martin Lawrence is, and we're gonna be all that. And then I loved Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, and they made an excellent franchise out of it, because the straight man and the silly Billy. do you have any favorite ego with unprofessional comic confrontations as a producer? You know, like, do you know who I am, kind of thing. You don't have to name names, but favorite story.
No, honestly, I mean, well, it's funny you mentioned that because just a few months ago, I opened up for someone who's been around for 30 years, and he was very nice, very cordial. I did my thing a little bit too well, and so his manager asked me to not continue to work with them the weekend. So what I find is, what happens is it's not really the person. If the performer you're working with doesn't do as well following you, they find some way to remove you from working in front of them anymore.
That's fascinating.
And
you can't do too well. That's so
yeah.
interesting.
Well, especially too because and this person happened to be also of a chocolate persuasion, and so when you don't have enough differentiation, they kind of look at it like it's stepping too close. Like we're both happen to be tall and good looking, you know, not to toot my own horn, but we seem similar, although I think our content is very different because of my perspective and where I speak from. But and I thought his set after mine was fabulous. I mean, I don't think, but when the show ends and people are coming up to me and telling me what a great job I did, and I don't think it wasn't because he didn't do a good job, it's just that in between shows, he doesn't come out of his green room, right? He's a big celeb. Because I got too much shine after my set, they asked me to not continue to work with them during the weekend. They said, hey, come hang out. You're still going to get paid, but we're working on stuff for his new special. So, you know, they kind of made it. But one of the guys that I know that works with him on a regular basis was telling me, you know, they tell him all the time to throttle back in order to help the other person shine more. So for me, what I realized is that's fine. I'm not really dying to work with people. Like I would love to work with Dave Chappelle once, you know, do a show with him. I don't matter how big or how small, because he's somebody who gave me encouragement about 4 years into my career that is enough to like float my kite forever. You know what I mean? But I'm not someone who is constantly seeking to partner up with other people. I have my own brand. I'm building it. I'm building my own audience, and I'm willing to just be where I'm at. I don't need someone to elevate me in order for me to feel like success. Because for me, I get to wake up when I want. I get to make my own schedule. I get to negotiate my own deals. Like to me, success is when you have the life that you can live with and there's nothing that I need for. And every day I get to create. So I live a blessed existence already. And to me, fame is also a thing where it's a drug for some people. It's nice to be recognized. It's nice to be appreciated. But if I had to choose, honestly, I think I would choose to be just rich and wealthy and not necessarily famous. So the fact that I get to do comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fascinating comparison. I would absolutely love to be rich and wealthy, but I don't want Britney Spears fame. I don't know that.
No. But here's the thing. If fame and fortune is what you want, you can't determine the level of the fame you get. You're going to get what you get. It could be famous, it could be infamous, right? But if you work on building systems and processes that allow you to generate income, and then for me, comedy is an outlet. It's fun. I get paid for it, lots of money, but I don't have to rely only on it. Because for me, I was like, I want to build a business. So I'm the entrepreneur-median. Entrepreneurship comes first, comedian comes second. And so at the end of
that you're trying to share your knowledge, because not everybody has all the answers, right? So being able to mentor and support and encourage and give positive feedback allows, you know, people in your community to be able to learn, because there's so much information, and being able to be live in a seminar or something, to be able to ask questions, to be informed. I've walked out of several seminars going, you know, like, I'm grateful that I went and I'm glad that I learned, because even if you knew this and I knew this, and social media, you know, you could Google that, but it's integrating, it's
Yes.
posture, it's, when you meet someone, the first 30 seconds is the impression that you give. And that's
Hmm.
in sales, that's in networking, that's in
Yep.
trying to get hired for a gig kind of
Yep.
thing. Your first 30-second bit, so I really want to stop saying, hey guys, how you doing? Because that's 20 seconds of your
Oh
30
yeah.
second impression. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, I'm so stuck on, hey guys, how you doing? Just to sort of
Yeah.
get that going. I have to stop, but I love doing it so much.
Well, you can still ask that question, but why don't you practice putting it after you make an observation that takes a risk? So that's one of the things that I do, and I learned it from Louis C.K. So I remember it was maybe 2011 or so. And I was stationed actually about 2010-ish, because I was still stationed at Naval Postgraduate School getting my master's. And it was maybe a year after running into Dave Chappelle when he first got back from Africa. So I'm riding high, I'm absorbing, I'm a sponge. I'm listening to a Louis C.K. album in my car as I'm driving around doing shows. And so I was headed to Caroline's to do a show, and I had a bunch of people coming out. And Louis C.K. bumped me on that show. He went in front of me, and I got to see him, and I got to go shake his hand. I was like, "Hey, Louis, I loved your barista bit." Now, for those of you who might not know, this is a bit in which Louis C.K. uses the N-word, and he used it to perfection. He's like, you ever love something so much that someone does for you that you actually call them the N-word? He uses it the way that Black people use it in relation to one another when it's a positive connotation, right? So great bit. Shake his hand. He's nervous. He's sweaty. Not because of me. I think he definitely was intimidated because I'm 6'1" and he's maybe 5'6". So he definitely was a little taken aback that that's the bit that I led with that I really liked about him. But I think he was also nervous because he cares that much about his performance that he was very nervous about going up. But one of the things that he said was he loves to sometimes he likes to burn his best stuff up front. So now the pressure's on him to try to increase the stuff that isn't as strong towards the end. Otherwise, he's not going to have a good set. But the other thing that he said was, I like to try to observe some sort of elephant in the room as the first thing that I say. Because if it lands, the audience is like, you're completely here and you're present with me. And that is way better than just asking them how they're doing. Because hopefully the MC or whoever went in front of you did a good enough job that they're already in a good mood. So you know what they're feeling. How about observe something and let them know that you mean business? And then if you really care about how a few individuals are doing, you can check in on them, but make it personal, but not just to the whole room, because that's standard. That's what the MC and host's job is to do up front. Your job is to come in and just hit them in the mouth with who you are and be unafraid.
Amazing. I got some writing to do.
Yep. But a lot of that though is a matter of trusting your comedic instinct and observing the show while it's happening before you go up. And so you can see what the other comedians have missed about the elephant in this room. So case in point, I did a set a couple of weeks ago here in Austin at a venue over here called the Vulcan, where Joe Rogan used to perform out of before he opened his own club. And there was a show in which there were two sets. One is sober and one is either drunk or high. Like you have to choose which one you want to be. So when I came back out for my high set, I had noticed that there were only 3 Black guys in the room besides myself. And all of us had on red shirts. And so literally I came out and I was I came out, I waited to grab the mic. I kind of scanned the room. I grabbed the mic and then I'm like, why is it? And then I had a black leather jacket on. So I started to take my jacket off so I could really be clear about the red shirt underneath. And I said, why is it that every Black guy in this room has on a red shirt? And that observation caused the crowd to go bananas. And that led to an aside that helped me freestyle that second set that I did. Now, when I came out the first time, I was just focused on, here's my material. So I wasn't observing as much. If you take the time to observe, you give them a once in a lifetime experience, which is, this can only happen here in this moment, in this time. So your presence in the present is the present.
Ooh.
And the gift that you're giving them.
I like that so much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
JaMarr, I could talk to you for hours. You have so much information.
Thank
I
you.
probably should have you back just to be able to
Yeah,
ask more questions and learn more
absolutely.
about you. Maybe we could do some seminars. Who knows? But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll be doing some seminars at my venue here in Austin. So be on the lookout for the last weekend of January. There'll be a weekend seminar happening, which will be, just so that people listening can have the dates, it will be the 25th, 26th, 27th to the 28th. So that Thursday through Saturday, it'll be mainly a 2-day weekend, but I'm going to have some things leading up to it that are just 1-day things where you can only make one day, you come in, you make one day, but the weekend will be a full day of seminars.
can we buy tickets and log on online from Canada?
Of course. Listen, mostly everything that I've done, especially since 2015, has been a combination of live and virtual. Now, of course, with the pandemic, we've all have done some shows and things like that online. I've done keynotes online, but I always want to make sure there's a streaming option, because obviously the world is much bigger than the 126 seats that can fit in my venue at once.
Yeah.
So having the stream capability, and I have an academy online that has access to, backlogs of different things that I teach. You got to have a digital education component, because it just gives you a long tail effect. And a great example of that, to give you some real life examples of this, is there's a comedian now who's touring really well. It's an Irish comedian named Dave Nihill. Now, I met him in Silicon Valley in 2014 when I was working there. He had a startup, and he was doing stand-up to get better at his communication skills and his pitching skills. And then he found out he really loved it. So he wrote a book called Talking Funny. And then from that book, he also then created a course that became a course on Udemy. That course has well over 20,000 sales. And from that's one of the places where he still communicates with his list, because you get those customer lists, and the name of the game is building your list in any business. It's not a business if you don't have a list. A list is a way to communicate directly with your potential customer or the person you're serving. And so while he's on tour, every couple months, you'll get a little email from that Udemy course that is giving updates on his tour dates, as well as here's a link to my website and his other main newsletter. So using digital education to create a list and then continue to communicate with that list is one of the hacks that I teach in my entrepreneur mastermind.
Amazing. And where can we check out your website to be able to log on?
I am JaMarr.com is the main place. From there, you'll be able to find all the other things, but I am JaMarr.com. I've got my main email list there. And then for those that are interested in the Entrepreneur Mastermind, if you go to UpMind, that's UPMIND.club, UpMind Club, you'll find details there, and you can schedule a call if you're interested in learning more.
Thank you so much, JaMarr. I hope you have the most amazing day up there in Texas.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great connecting with you.
One last thing, if I can request, say it loud, say it proud. I love Newsload. I
love Newsload.
Thank you, JaMarr. Have an amazing day.
You too. Peace, love, and prosperity. I'm out.
Bye.
This is the Newsload.